The way that humans treat other animals can offer insight into their views of morality, and I was reminded of this some years ago at a book talk by an anthropologist who had done participant observation working on the kill floor of a Midwestern American slaughterhouse. And he began his talk with a kind of framing story from history about the brazen bull, which, if you don't know, was a torture device said to be used in ancient Greece, where the victim would be placed inside the hollow bronze bull, sealed in, and a fire would be lit underneath. So the victim would slow roast while onlookers could hear the screams channeled out through the mouth of the bull. You know me, I always think of things through the lens of the Chinese past, and so I had to wait for the comment period, but I offered him the story of another bull, a kind of semi-famous Chinese bull, whose story much better fit his message. And so at roughly the same time as the brazen bull, this is 25 or so centuries ago in what is now China, there were lots of small competing states, and there were consultants that would travel from state to state offering their services to the ruler. And one such consultant was a guy named Mencius, a follower of Confucius who is very influential in Chinese history. And we have a dialogue between him and a certain king. And the king wants to speak about profit. And Mencius doesn't want to do this. He wants to talk about the innate goodness of all human beings. And Mencius is not just doing this to make the world a better place. He's ultimately going to make an argument to the king that actually to rule in a moral way is also effective and will benefit his kingdom. And as a point of entry, Mencius uses a story about a bull. Mencius says, "I heard a story about you, that in the palace grounds you came across a bull being led for a sacrifice so that its blood would anoint a bell. And seeing it, you told the people taking it to let the bull go and to swap it out for a sheep to be used in that sacrifice. And now there are rumors spreading around court and country that you're cheap because you took something big, the bull, and traded it out for something small, the sheep. But I know," Mencius says to the king, "I know that that's not true. I know it's that you saw the bull, like an innocent man being led to the execution ground, trembling, and therefore your heart was moved, and you traded it out for something else. Isn't that right?" And the king says, "Yes, that's exactly it. It's that I saw the bull," and he repeats the phrase, "the innocent man being led to the execution grounds. My state might be small, but how could I begrudge a single bull? It was this feeling that rose within me." And I should say about this painting, this one bull looking at us very plaintively right now is probably the perfect illustration of it, with its sort of sad eyes. This painting, Five Different Oxen, is probably maybe the earliest painting we have by a known artist on paper, and it has its own interesting story, lost from the imperial collections after the Boxer War, and then recovered and purchased by agents of the People's Republic from a Hong Kong collector in the 1950s. But back to our story, right, and back to Mencius. That feeling in the heart, seeing the suffering or the fear of the bull, Mencius says, that proves that you have this internal spark of a childlike heart and a moral nature, even though you might deny it. And it's your job to cultivate that sense of empathy and to use it. And so the dialogue goes on. But this reminded me actually of a lesson I learned in my own life from a boy the year above me in high school. We were having a conversation in the library one day, and he said something about how he didn't want to look at an image, and I don't know if it was gore or pornography or whatever on the internet, because he wanted to kind of guard his own innocence. And I was quite shocked, because my working model of, theory and practice was to expose myself deliberately to a lot of things at the time, because I thought that that meant I would learn more, become more mature, and so on. Whereas Sun Wan's model was entirely the opposite, right? That he needed to protect himself and preserve that sense of innocence that he still had within him. And that is basically Mencius's suggestion. Now, for many of you, you're not going to be happy with the ultimate takeaway or moral of this for those in the Confucian tradition. And that is that the gentleman must keep his distance from the kitchen. And what that means is, for the Confucian scholar, you don't become vegan. You just avoid going into the kitchen. That's where the bloody slaughter happens, and you need to not see it so that you can preserve your own kind of innocence, even if you still eat the meat. So brazen bull cruelty versus the cow of compassion for Mencius.